Hi, my name is Judy and I'm the City Stitcher, and welcome to my Flosstube channel. Today is Monday, July the 24th. Yes, it's Monday. I didn't film yesterday. Yesterday was glorious and sunny and fabulous, and I spent a ridiculous amount of time outside. And quite frankly, I didn't feel like filming yesterday, so we're filming it. Now, also part of the thing was the week previous I recorded really late in the evening so I could get it done. And I just don't like how the pieces look when I'm filming in artificial light. So I'm filming in the evening. So it's after 6:30. There's still light here. It's not quite as bright, but it's also because it's been a really warm day and I needed the room to cool down a bit. So the window is open. So if the kids come out to play, you may be hearing that. I do also back onto a park, so there could be people roaming by. I'm also really concerned that the door into the house is also open, and because I've got windows open now that it's starting to cool down, that the crossbees may cause it to slam shut. So if there's a huge slam in the middle of this video and I jolt, I did put something in front of it, so I'm really hoping it won't be able to slam shut, but I am a little bit concerned. So cautionary note on that. So it's been lovely here. The last little bit, we're forecasted for a really lovely week coming up, which is weather I love. So it's going to have a negative impact on the stitching, which is totally fine. Summer only comes once a year, and I love summer and heat and warmth and being outside. I know that that's not everybody's preference, but I love all of that. So stitching can take a backseat to being outside and enjoying warmth and sunshine and all that kind of good stuff. Listening to a good book, having a Slurpee. In case anybody's wondering, one of the other things I really like is green grapes that you've put in the freezer for... I don't quite have it perfected yet. I do it every year, and every year I look at it and go, nuts, how long do I put them in the freezer for? I don't like them completely frozen, but put them in the freezer for a while so you have super chilled grapes. And on a really nice hot sunny day outside in the sunshine, lovely, 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 lovely. And then if you have a few left over in the evening, I also don't mind them dipped in chocolate, so, you know, microwave a little bit of semi-sweet chocolate chips. Anyway, things that make me happy in the summer. Yeah, so if you're a new viewer, thank you for stopping by and spending some time with me. And as always, many thanks to those of you that come back regularly and check in with me and catch up on my stitching journey and see what I've been up to over the past week-ish. Yes, I'm filming it on Monday. It means I really didn't do any cross-stitching yesterday. So anyway, I'll have to make up for that at some point this week, but we're fine. It's cross-stitching. It is not life-saving cancer research, so I've got a little bit of flexibility in there. All right. Let's talk about comments from last week. Thank you so much for all the commentary. There were some really great comments, people reaching out to answer some of the questions that I had posed that were very helpful. So let's talk about, some people came up with some suggestions for Jay for a memorial piece for his mom who had passed away. So Jay Crockett had said that she's seen people stitching What Remains Is Love by Blackbird Designs as a memorial piece, and then you can just put in your mom's initials. It was previously a limited release in celebration of Traditional Stitch's 20th anniversary, but it has now been released large scale, so you should be able to get it from your local needlework shop. Vom Illerdam, I'm really sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, said that he, also not sure, is working on a gardening piece in memory of their mom because she was a really big gardener. So yeah, same thing. If there was something that your mom was really into, find a piece that you, it's that one where you just look at it and go, yeah, oh yeah, that's one that she would have loved, and stitch it for her to hang on your wall. And then a third came from Miss Agatha. Do a cross stitch of a monogram of her initials and frame it together with your favorite picture of her, which I think that's, again, brilliant idea. Jay, so I hope that one of those are some more suggestions for you. So I hope those are helpful to you. Okay, so Rose May asked me a question about railroading my satin stitches on my frankincense piece. And she said, what are the pros and cons of railroading versus using a laying tool, which you can also use. I have one as well. So for me, one of the different, I don't know if it's a pro-con list. For me, one of the differences is the fibers that you're using. So for me, if you've got a fiber that tends to really twist up on itself, that's where a laying tool comes in, because you sort of, you know, put it underneath your thing, and as you're pulling it taut, you're making sure that it's exactly gonna, whether it's flat or straight or whatever it is that you need it to be, that's where the laying tool comes in handy. For frankincense, I specifically started with railroading because I was using 2 strands of anchor floss. And because I was wanting it to cover area, I start with railroading. If I wasn't happy, if the railroading wasn't achieving the look that I wanted, that's when I would go and I would haul out the laying tool. But for me, the railroading did work. It doesn't mean, as I said last week, it didn't mean I did have to go back and sort of redo a couple of them just to get the way I wanted. And even then, usually I sort of used a laying tool-esque, which means I didn't use a proper laying tool. I used another needle that I had on my needle minder on that piece, because I've got a variety of sized needles that I'm using because of the different fibers that I'm using, right? Everything from a number 16 Krynic braid to 2 strands of anchor floss. And right, so I've got a different number of size needles that I've got on my needle minder on that piece. And, you know, so I just pulled one of the other ones and helped it along. It just meant I didn't have to go into the other room to get my laying tool. So I sort of, it was laying tool technique-esque without having to go into the other room to officially get my laying tool. So, you know, one of the other things is you know, for that one, because it was 2 strands, one of the other things is when I use a laying tool, I'm slower at it. I can't, just because I don't tend to use it as much. So for me, railroading versus laying tool is I'm faster at doing railroading because I do that more often than using my proper laying tool. So, you know, my answer is I don't know that there's a pro-con list. It's with everything else, find the tool that works for you. So if it's railroading works for you, do railroading. If a laying tool works for you best and gets the look that you want, use that. If you're someone who goes, I don't care that much about either of them and I'll do none of the above, that's okay too. It's your piece and you have to find what works for you. So yeah, I don't know that I've got a good pro-con list. And again, it depends on the piece. It depends on what I'm doing. For me, what drives what I'm doing is, am I happy with the result? So that's the simple answer. She also had positive words that, you know, keep up, I'm doing well on my Quaker series and, you know, etc., etc. I will say I put the August Quaker into Markup RXP this week and looked at the stitch count and went, oh, it's 2,850 stitches. So, I mean, it's 100 less than July, but it's not as nice as like January when there was like 2,400. Anyway, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. And somebody else, oh yeah, Miss Agatha again said, if I can do the Marbeck Nativity, I can do the Quaker series, which honestly, I read that comment and went, you're so right. Hopefully with a little less moaning and complaining than I did with the Marbeck Nativity. Don't get me wrong. I love the Marbeck Nativity. I love how it's finished. I'm thrilled. Like I say, my mom, you know, does put it out. I think I've said this before. The thing that I find most humorous about that is how protective my dad is of the piece, and that everybody to the house must come and look at any. Now, they don't have great lighting in that particular room. It's more like ambiance lighting than, you know, full-on lighting. So he makes sure he's got a handy dandy flashlight for people to use if they want to look at it up close so that they can see all the metallics and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's really funny and I enjoy that part about it. But yes, if I can do the Marbeck Nativity, I can do the monthly Quakers. It's true. Good point, good point, good point. Denise, thank you for your tip. You're going to see that tip put into action later in this video. Shar, I did get your email as well. I have not yet responded to you because I want to make sure I've taken pictures that I'm happy with. She had a question. She also has the, I'm just looking for something, has the Gifts of the Magi charts from Victoria Sampler. She, however, did not buy the accessory packs with them, which of course at this point, unless you happen to stumble across one, I was just looking at to see if it's the same on both sides. You know what? This is high tech at its best. So Char, I'm gonna send you the dimensions of this lock, and I will put the dimensions in the notes section below. But that's a close up of what the lock for the gold box looks like. I was looking online, and it does look like these are going to be a little bit harder to find. So you may have to find something that's not from the same company. But I will put the dimensions in the thing below. I am heading out to the Cochrane store later this week because I'm missing a thread for Frankincense. We'll talk about that when we get there. So it's Monday, so they're closed today, so I can't check to see if they've got it in stock. So we'll see about that. I will check with them because they do tend to have more charms and buttons in stock, and they may have some older stuff. So sure, I will check with them to see if they've got one in stock, and I'll let you know when I send you that email that has the dimensions on it once I've talked to them. I don't think they're open until Wednesday, so look for an email from me on Wednesday, or maybe Thursday, depending on how Wednesday goes. Okay, and then there was a really great comment from Sue, and we're going to talk about that when we get to the frankincense piece. So thank you so much. The comments this week, I love when I put a question out there and I get these awesome responses that are very, very helpful. That's why I ask you these lovely questions, because you're all really smart. So with that, let's get into what I've been stitching this week. And I'm not going to do them in chronological order because I'm going to start with library stitching. So we had our July stitching at the library on Saturday, which was, as always, really fun. Great to see the ladies. We had a couple of new people, which was awesome. Yeah, we had a good time. I brought my finishes, other than I got there and went, oops, I forgot one. I forgot Canadian Patriotic Sampler, so I'll bring that to the next one. But I brought my finishes so far in 2026. Cheryl from Happy Handcraft Studio brought her fully finished items that she showed on her last video, so it was awesome to see those in real life. Wilma had a finish, which was great. We had a couple of people who had been to the Stitch and Stash retreat in Edmonton. So Cheryl, of course, as she said in her video, she had kept all of her stuff packaged up so she could come and show it, which was it was great to see all of that stuff. She brought what she received in her smalls exchange. Joelle showed what she got in her smalls exchange, which was awesome. Yeah, so it was just great. So for Stitching at the Library, I started something new. So I decided, originally my plan was that I was going to be working on summer notes at the library until I got it finished, and I took it to the June one and went, okay, enough of that, because it's too finicky for me. It's too finicky for me to do at the library. So I just went, call a halt on that one, be done with it, and pick something new. So I picked something new to do. I went, look for something easy. So I am working on the Penelope's Posies pin cushion by Lindy Stitches. I forgot to check. I'm pretty sure that you can get the chart as a paper copy of the chart still. It definitely is available as a PDF directly on Lindy Stitches website, so I will put a link to that in the notes section below. Now, I got this a number of years ago. Sorry, let me just haul out. Let's see if I can tell when I got it. No. I got it a number of years ago at Nashville as something that was being released at the Nashville Needlework Market. And that year it was being released, as you can tell from this cover, it was being released as a kit. And for once in my lifetime, it was a kit where I liked everything about it. So the kit comes with this aqua ribbon. It comes with this backing fabric, the aqua with white polka dots. It comes with this little crown charm to attach to the bow when you're finishing it. And it came with these pins to put in it. So, and it came with 32 count white even weave fabric. Not bone, not ivory, not ecru, not cream, not vintage country mocha. It came with white 32 count even weave, which I'm going, it was a Lugana fabric. It was perfect. So just to give you a little bit more, now I'm showing this, I don't think you can get the kits anymore, but here is the ribbon. There is the fabric. And so technically this should be enough ribbon to do that ruching doohickey with the ribbon. And at the library, I graciously spoke to my fully finished assistant, otherwise known as Cheryl, the Happy Handcraft Studio from Flosstube. Anyway, we were chatting about that. So it came with the square that you need to finish it. It also came with 2 pieces of interfacing to put on both the backing and the stitch piece itself, cut to size. So I've got those 2 pieces. The ribbon, sorry, I'm not taking, oops, I lost it. There you go, there's the crown, and then these 5 pins, which have pearls in the center of them. So Cheryl and I did discuss when it comes time to turn this into a fully finished object that potentially with the ruching that I could do pearl beads sort of in between the ruching. So don't get excited. You know that the fully finished object is not coming imminently. And wait till you see how much stitching I got done on it. But anyway, so that's what came in the kit. This is why I ordered the kit when it came out at Nashville. I remember that year very specifically. It was my #1 item that I wanted. I placed my order with Traditional Stitches. It was kind of like, this is the one that I really, really, really want. And I'm pretty sure even before they'd said there was a limited number of kits, and you know, cautionary note that they might not be able to come back with it, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I got it and I was thrilled with it. I've had it for years. And so now it's time to break it out and actually turn it into a stitched object, and maybe a fully finished object. All right. Sorry, I have to put everything back in the bag or I'm gonna misplace it. Okay. So I'm just gonna show this one more time. Whoops. This is what the pattern calls for. Now, I'm going to show you what I actually got accomplished at the library, and then I will explain. Yes, it's a small piece, and already we need an explanation. So here is my stitching at the library. 3 hours of time spent at the library, and this is what I got stitched. So some of you are already got that eyebrow raised going, oh really? Which makes sense. For a pattern that is this simple, I should have been able to get more done in a 3-hour block of time. However, it's me. I was watching, you know how in some Flosstube channels, they've got drinking games? I've decided, so the drinking game is like, so when you hear the magic word, you know, you take a drink. I've decided that the drinking game for my channel is the word change, or anything related. Change, changed, changes, changing, anything that, you know, that's my drinking game. So I took the Lindy Stitches pattern and looked at it and went, well, of course I'm going to have to change the colors. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of them I really like. I'm okay with aqua, I'm okay with pink, I'm okay with purple. Yellow is a little bit iffy, orange is too far for me. So, what I decided to do is, step number 1 was I took my pins and I went to my DMC color card. So pink, purple, blue, green, and yellow are the colors of the pins. Took them to my DMC color card and got DMC floss that matched the colors of the pins. So not necessarily the ones that the chart called for. I got the ones that I felt were closest to the pin colors. Now I'm just having a moment. It works out better if I actually follow my own instructions. Okay. And then, it'd help if I put them on a ring, but I didn't. And then my next step was I counted how many of these, you know, flower blobs. I think they're supposed to be flowers, but you know, they're not, you know what I mean. I call them the flower blobs. And then I counted how many flower blobs there were, and there are 25 of them. So I've got 5 colors here, and for those of you that are math inclined, you would go, wow, that works out perfect. 5 colors, 25 flower blobs, 5 of each color. Well, that's not going to work for me, because that means that there's going to be 5 yellow blobs, and that's too much yellow. So how do you solve a math problem like that? What you do is you add another color so that you have 6 colors. And for those of you that are math inclined are going, okay, well, that doesn't make any sense at all, because 25 divided by 6 is a problem. It does not work out. So the answer is turned into 7 colors. So if you have 7 colors, of which 1 is yellow, you do 1 yellow blob, which turned out to be the center one, and then you have 6 other colors, and 24 divided by 6 means 4 of each color. See, that's how math works. So when I was at the library, in my head, I was going to spend time on Friday. I had already scanned it in. I had it ready to go into Markup RXP, and on Friday night, I was going to be super smart, and I was going to work it all out, and I was going to have it ready to stitch. Well, that's not what happened on Friday night. So I got to the library with my pattern in Markup RXP, but I had not assigned the new colors. So between chit chat, blah, 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 catch up, look at the things from Stitch and Stash, do, you know, look at everybody's finishes, do a tour around the table, see what everybody's working on. Then I spent time actually adjusting the colors in Markup RXP, which has now been accomplished, which left me with very little time to actually do some stitching, but I got the center blob done. So my one yellow blob is done. I also had the ladies look at my colored version on in Markup RXP to see if they agreed with my things. So this is my color palette, and I will put these DMC colors in the notes below, just in case you're wondering. So my yellow is now officially done. I did change the green, and yeah, so here are my colors. So two pinks, two purples, the aqua, and a light blue is what I ended up with. So that's what my posy bouquet is going to look like. I just had a moment going, I did, yes. So most importantly, I just wanted to make sure, I had a moment was like, did you check this? To make sure that the aqua that I had chosen that coordinates with the pin will go decently well with the backing. And I'm fine with that. I might look at it and see if there's one that's closer. I might have to change that. We'll see. Check back. Anyway, I will put those DMC, and while I'm here, I will take out the ones that I decided against, because that would make things simpler. Put this back into my library project bag. So that's what I got done stitching at the library. Not a lot, but very effective. So it's all set up in Markup RXP. I got the yellow one done when I came home, because the length of floss that I used for the yellow worked out to be almost perfect. It was probably slightly longer than it needed to be, but it was almost perfect for doing a blob all in one go, which was great. So I came home and I cut those lengths out of each of the other colors. So we're really ready to go the next time that this piece comes out, which will be at the August Stitching at the Library, and I have that date for you, and we'll talk about that in the announcements section. All right. So then, what else did I work on? So I worked on Winter ABCs by Little House Needleworks, which is my current ABC project that I'm working on. I am stitching this on 28 count Springfield Sage Lugana using the called for colors. I have swapped out the white. I'm using Cosmo white because I just wanted to give Cosmo floss a try. So now the problem is it's been a week since I worked on this. I'm trying to remember exactly what I got. I think I finished off the snowman, and I got the bird in and got those last little bits of the bird that needed to be done, like, because there's, you know, what, there was a total of six yellow stitches and 2 brown stitches. So those birds are done. The snowmen got completed, their buttons got put on, they got their noses. Now, there are French knots that need to go in here, but there are some French knots in this next snowman, and I decided I was going to do the French knots all at one go. Because once I get past that snowman, there's no more snowmen, so I could do all of snowman related French knots all in one go. And then worked on S, got part of T done. It's coming along. It's coming along well. So there's six letters left to go. So I am expecting that this is going to be done by the end of August, which means it's time to start kitting up my next ABC project. So I need to get on that. I need to order some floss in order to do that. So I need to get on it. Get on it. So that order needs to get placed this week so that I will be ready to do my next one. But yeah, so there it is. Yes, it's folded over. Here's the rest of it. I'll show the whole thing once we get to the end, but making progress, which is great. All right, and then we get to the infamous Frankincense by the Victoria sampler. I am stitching this on a 28 count antique white Lugana. This is one where if you're working on this particular piece, so the called for is 28 count platinum. Pretty sure it's platinum. Yeah. 28 count platinum, you know platinum's too brown for me. So I'm doing it on 28 count antique white, which is the right answer for me. But strongly, if you're going to work on this one, 28 count, 28 count, 28 count, 28 count. If you work on anything higher than that, it's going to be hard. Like even 32, given that you're using this number 16 braid, if 32, I think it's going to be a problem. The bugles aren't going to fit as well on a 32 count, so 28 count is the right answer for this. See? Following the instructions. Who knew that that was possible? Okay, I'm following the instructions in terms of count. I'm not following the instructions in terms of color, which is not unusual. Anyway, so it's been an interesting week for me on this particular piece because I was all ready to do my couching and I discovered that I was missing one of my Krynics. Now, I had this thing in my head where I'm like, there's no way I walked out of that shop and I didn't have the Krynic. It's got to be here somewhere in the house. So I've rated 27 things, looked through my Krynic stash. I don't have it. And for once, I looked at it and I was like going, no, I think the best answer is actually to use the called for, which is a 002 Japan Gold by Krynic to do the couching. So I wanted that. I didn't want to come up with some other substitute because it's being couched over a 002 Gold by Krynic. So I really want the Japan Gold in my stash. I have a lot of 001 Japan Gold. I don't have 002. I don't know what it is. So that's my, theoretically in my head, I was going to find some time to go out to Cochrane and see if they had it. And it just didn't happen last week, like several other errands that didn't happen. Like I'm behind on laundry. But anyway, the weather is lovely and glorious and I'm spending time outside, and that's actually more important than going to Cochrane to get the Krynic or doing the laundry, to be perfectly honest. So I didn't get that done. So I had an interesting journey this week. Now the light is going down, so I still don't think it's going to be quite as blingy as it would have been. Let's move this over a little bit. Okay, so I got good progress this week until you hear what I'm going to have to redo. And it's a personal decision, and it's my choice, and I'm choosing to do it. But okay, so what did I get done? So what I got done is this next band here, which is entirely done with beads. So if you think back to last year, I had made the comment that there were a number of things that I was doing last year because I was testing some things out, you know, before I finalized my 2023 plan. So one of them was the concept that a Victoria sampler of this size I could get done in a month while still working on like a monthly piece. And it looks like I'm reasonably well on track for doing that. 2, I was working on my Queen Elizabeth memorial piece, that it's the crown from JBW Designs that I did all in beads. It was to see how I did with doing all beads. So this for me was a snap. Snappity snap snap. So I did this band, I did this band, I did this band, and I was working on the letters and I got about halfway through the letters and I just went, I just need to do something different. So I came down and I did the back stitching down in the next band, came up and was working on the letters and went, hey, wait a minute. And it turned out that I started the word frankincense in the wrong spot. Isn't that lovely? Fun, fun. Which meant this was in the wrong spot. So I had to rip all of this out. And in this case, I didn't unstitch. It was DMC floss. I figured, it was like, it's fine. So I ripped it out and I restitched it. Started the outlining. And I've decided I'm going to do it again. Third time's the charm, right? Everybody knows that rule. So here, why am I ripping it out and doing it again? So in the picture, it's okay, it's hard to tell on camera. It doesn't look like the letters are very full. It doesn't seem to be focusing very well. But I looked at it and I went, I'm thinking, because the way it's in the pattern, it looks like it's probably just quarter stitches and it's not looking very full with the back stitching because it's, you know, all over everywhere. And so I went, okay, so when I did it, instead of doing a quarter stitch, I was going to do a 3/4 stitch. And then when I got to the back stitching, just make sure that the back stitching, because it's one strand of floss, was going around that 3/4 stitch, which is what I started. Here. And I was unhappy with that. Now, it's because I'm having my second doubts again. Because I, of course, when I'm stitching on it, I'm looking at it up close. And from a distance, it might be okay. I need to think about that. I talked myself into that I needed to redo it, and I needed to use the Jeanette Douglas theory. So you remember when I was really annoyed with myself about the Canadian Patriotic Sampler because I got down to that very last band, the plaid band, and I didn't reread the instructions because I knew what I was doing because I'd already done a plaid band. And then it turned out I really should have read the instructions before I started the plaid band. So the instructions in the plaid band were, you know, where on the chart it showed a 1/4 stitch. What she wanted you to do was do a 1/1 full cross because it fills up the space better. And so when I was working on this and had started doing the outline, and I was like, not thrilled. Not surprisingly, because I just finished the Canadian Patriotic Sampler, I went, oh, Jeanette Douglas. Maybe what I need to do is do them as 1/1 full crosses. See, and yeah, I'm probably going to do it because I'll be working on it up close and it's going to annoy me again. So I'm going to do frankincense, the word, for a 3rd time. And I'm going to do it using the Jeanette Douglas method, which means using 1/1 full crosses to fill this word out. I'm still probably going to treat them as if they're 3/4 stitches, just to make sure I like a full letter. And then the funny thing is, so the back stitching, so the called for is black to tie in with the Trebizond silk that you're using here. Like in this one and in this one, which I, of course, have changed to navy blue. So same thing. What I did is I hauled out my DMC color card. I just unraveled some of the Trebizond silk off of the spool, laid it down across the blues, and found the blue that was the perfect match, which is DMC 823. But again, I started doing it I think it's a little too dark. So I think I need to go up one for the back stitching around the letters, which would be 820. So I'm going to try that. That's why, you know, you see this big long dangly floss thread is because I started it and didn't finish anything. So I think I'm going to try 820, check back next week because I will have made a final decision on that. So none of the couching got done up here, did all of these things. This band, so this band here, same, I had another decision to make. So the called for is Trebizond Ecru. And I had a moment where I said to myself, ooh, maybe you should be doing that in white. And I decided, hard to believe, I'm sticking with the called for because I feel like the ecru, because it's not too yellow and ecru on the antique white makes it show up. I think if I went white on white, it wouldn't stand out enough. And I feel like the ecru is a better blending color given how much yellow / gold is in this. So I'm keeping it as the ecru. Okay, this band, which just has the back stitching, which is the one that has the very, very scary ribbon embroidery. This is where did I put my notes page? Let me get the right name. Sue. Sue had the most brilliant suggestion. So thank you, Sue. It's a brilliant suggestion. I love it. I'm absolutely going to be following that. Was to leave the ribbon embroidery until the very end, which I think also just really, you can find no better procrastination than putting off till the very end. But for me, the point was ribbon embroidery, it's going to be a little bit puffy. These pieces are potentially, it could take me up to 2 years from now. So July of 2025. It could take me up until July of 2025 to finish all 3 gifts of the Magi. And there's a pretty good chance over the course of 3 years that ribbon embroidery is not going to fare well. So it's a brilliant suggestion. She's absolutely right. So on this piece, this band, now it's got other things other than the ribbon embroidery, but you need to do the ribbon embroidery first so that you know how much space those leaves are taking up before you do the other specialty stitches. So this is as far as this is going to go until we get to the very end. Gold needs to be done before we will come back and finish off this band. So I moved along. So I did the next band. This one also needs the couching of the number 8 braid around it. Did another row of beads. Did the bugles. Shar, if you're watching, and for anybody else, if you've got this in your stash, I'm also going to tell you where I'm not necessarily following the instructions. So the instructions for this bugle band, and it might have even been on the first one, and I read them and I went, no, that's not how I'm going to do this. Let me just go back and check. Yeah, same thing for actually, yeah, so they did this for actually that's not true. On this bugle I did follow the instructions. This bugle I did not. So the instructions said to do all of the bugle beads and then come back in and do the cross stitching in the row above it and the row below it with the Trebizond silk. Now the Trebizond silk is a thicker fiber, like it's more like a pearl cotton number 5. Like it's thicker than a pearl cotton 8. It's probably somewhere between a 5 and an 8, but it's closer to a 5 than an 8. And I just went, there's no way that I'm going to go in with the Trebizond silk after I get those bugles in. So I stitched the top row of cross stitches, put the bugles in, and then did the bottom row of cross stitches. Like to come back in and do it above them, I was just like, that, So I liked, it worked out very well for me, no problem. So just in case anybody's got this in their stash, that's what I chose to do. Then of course I did another row of Krynic Smyrnas and then came down to work on the base of the stand again. same thing, using the 2 strands of anchor floss, railroading as I went. This also needs to have the number 8 braid couched around it. So once I get that Japan Gold in my hot little hands, I'm going to have a lot of couching to do. But I do think I'm on track this week. So after this, right, so I'm already down here on this band, which is band 17 of 19. So I just need to finish this band, and then there's this band, which I think is, oh, it's more beads. It's a row of gold beads, and then this specialty stitch down here using the Karen Wildflowers Nefertiti. So really, that I should have all of that done by the time you see me next week. The clouds have come in. I'm losing all the light. So the clouds have come in. Anyway, maybe that's the sign that I need to wrap this up. This was a good day, because right now it would be time to come in from the balcony. So I should be able to have all of that done before I see you next week, which will be awesome. So this will not be a finish, because this band is not going to be done, and I'm not doing this, finishing this band until I get myrrh and gold done. And myrrh also has more of that ribbon embroidery, so the same concept. So there's more of it in myrrh than there is in frankincense. So I'll do once I get the gold box done, I'll do frankincense first, because it'll make sure I've got the hang of it, and then I'll do myrrh. Now, when I come to do myrrh, I can do, I can do the phoenix, I can do the word, no problem, but the same center section will be done once the gold chart is complete. Yeah, so Sue, awesome suggestion. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And thinking of it in the context that it could be up to 2 years that this is sitting in my carry forward whip pile. Brilliant suggestion, brilliant suggestion, brilliant suggestion. Do the ribbon embroidery last. I do also need to, so that's another reason that I'm going to be talking to Cochrane, is because I'm going to be seeing if they've got some YLI ribbon that I can purchase. I don't care what color, so that I can do some practice with it. I did go online, and I haven't been able to find it at any, like some of the online shops that I know that likely would carry it are completely out of stock. I actually went to the YLI site itself, and they are having supply chain issues. They have absolutely none of this YLI ribbon in the called for size in any color. And they do have a note on their site that says, yeah, they're having supply chain issues. It has not been discontinued, but they have none. So that makes it a little bit. So I'm hoping the Stitching Corner at Cochrane has some. I'm fairly certain that Traditional Stitches won't have it in stock, but maybe the Stitching Corner will have it. I also checked Embroidery Marketplace, and they don't have it either. Don't get confused. The YLI does have a silk ribbon floss. That is not what you need to do these projects. You're looking for the silk ribbon, not ribbon floss, just in case anybody's looking into it. All right, so that is my stitching for the week. I feel like it's coming along. Yeah, I'm happy with my progress on this one. Like I say, I feel fairly confident that by the time you see me next week, that I will have finished all of what I'm intending to do on here, and hopefully will have had a chance to, will have been able to get that Japan Gold so that I can do my coaching and get that done before you see me next week. Okay. All right, let's talk Stashquisitions, or in this case, I'm losing my light. Man, that's a really dark cloud. Okay, I didn't do this very well. It's all Stitchy kindness this week. No Stashquisitioning from me. All right, so let's talk Now, I forgot to check with the lovely viewer who sent me this Stitchy kindness, so I'm not going to say her name until probably next week. Just I need to check before I use people's names. But I had a viewer who reached out to me when, remember we were talking about those fruit tarts from Stony Creek and they were discontinued and blah, blah, blah. So this lovely viewer had them and has stitched them. Whoops. Sorry. Help if I took some of the tape off of it. Okay. And so she reached out to me and was wanting to know if I was interested in receiving the patterns because she's stitched them, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that would be awesome. Thank you so much. So she sent me the patterns, including whatever leftover floss she had. Now at Stony Creek, I haven't looked at the chart yet, but I'm fully expecting that the floss is going to be DMC. So not a problem to get more of it. So she sent me the ones that she had. So this is cherries, peaches and plums. So that's the floss palette. Sent them very nicely packaged. Pear. What is this? Grapes. And bananas and oranges. So I will be working these into the stitching plan. I have an idea for where they're going to go. She sent me a lovely, lovely note. I do need to email her. And as a little bonus, she lives close to where the Mary Maxim, I want to say, warehouse is in Ontario, and so she would, when they were having a sale and it was open to the public, they would go in and, you know, go look at the things. So she picked up this Forget-Me-Not floss packet, and so she sent that as just a little added bonus. You know me, blues and greens. So that was a lovely bonus on top of that, so I'll have to find something to put this towards. So that was very, very kind, so thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. They arrived safely. They now need to be worked into the plan. And then some friends and I, we have season subscriptions to Broadway across Canada. And it was our week to go see Aladdin the musical. And it was fantastic. We had a really, really great time. And it was really funny because one of the friends, she doesn't necessarily love all of it, but she's like, I love having an evening out with us as a group. And she's like, you know, we usually go for dinner before. She's like, so I'm coming, you know. And sometimes she likes them, but sometimes she's like, I don't know if I would have gone to this, you know, if it hadn't been for the fact that we're doing it as a group. So it was really funny. We got into the car after the musical was over, and she got into the car. She went, all right, I just have to say, it was really good. And we all went, yeah, it was really good. It was very good. It was very good. The staging was phenomenal. The costume changes were amazing. Like, I feel like that the ensemble cast, like in the cave scene alone, I feel like they had at least 3, if not 4 costume changes for the cave scene, which the staging was phenomenal. Our genie was fantastic. It was really good. Very, very enjoyable. 2 thumbs up. Loved it. Anyway, So while we were having dinner, my friend had gone to England in May before the coronation. And so I asked her, you may remember this, we had this conversation back in May where I'd asked her, I said, if you could find me some like pins, some coronation pins, that would be awesome. Like, don't go out of your way. Like, you're there on vacation with your husband. You're actually having a vacation where it's just you and your husband. So this is not a top priority. Don't spend too much time on this. But if you happen to come across it, that would be awesome. So she did get me some pins, and she went, honestly, like, I couldn't find anything that was actually coronation related. She said, I could have brought you home supplies for the party to beat all parties. Plates, glasses, napkins, streamers, balloons, banners, non-stop proliferation. I could have brought you 47 versions of every one of everything you needed to have a party, but I couldn't find a pin to save my life. So at the airport on the way out, she was shopping for her son, and she's like, there were some pins. And she said, I hope this is okay. And I went, honestly, anything is fantastic. So she got me these pins. So the flag, double-decker bus, the crown, and this looks sort of like sort of the logo that they had for the Platinum Jubilee. I don't know that it's explicitly that. It doesn't say anything on that, but of course it's got the 4 flowers representing the United Kingdom. Anyway, so this is what she got back, and I went, this is perfect. Thank you so much. This is lovely. Thank you so much for the gift. This is awesome. And now I will figure out how I will use them in conjunction with my royalty-themed pieces. So Cheryl, dear fully finished item assistant, something for you to think about while we're thinking about how we finish those things. Okay, so that's one. And then speaking of Cheryl, the Happy Handcraft Studio. Okay, I said it was all Stitchy Kindness. That's not true. There's one purchase in here. But let's finish off with Stitchy Kindness. So Cheryl, the Happy Handcraft Studio, did buy me a little pin. She said she saw it and immediately thought of me. It wasn't even like a nanosecond of thought before my name sprang to mind. And so it's this pin. Maybe it says Overthinker. And there's nobody who does overthinking better than me. I'm awesome at that, particularly as it relates to my cross stitching. So this is perfect. Now, if I'm gonna try to, not for this video because I'm not that coordinated and I'm already running behind schedule, but I am gonna see if I can't get a decent picture of this, and that when I'm doing my overthinking and my cross stitching, that if I do editing, that I can have it as like a flashing sign over top. Wouldn't that be awesome? I don't know that I can do it. At this point, I'm all talk, no actions, and no knowledge. So we'll see if I can pull that off. But I thought this would be funny. It was great and very applicable. So thank you, Cheryl. That was awesome. Okay. And then the one thing that I forgot, which, okay, technically I spent the money. So Cheryl, as I've mentioned it, and as she's mentioned in her own videos, she went to the Stitch and Stash retreat in Edmonton, which is like the last weekend in June. And sorry, it's just the birds are congregating onto the balcony. Anyway, and so I asked her very nicely, and she was very nice to me and said she would be more than happy. I sent her to the Stitch and Stash retreat with money and said, when you go to the Stitch and Stash retreat, they're having a bunch of vendors that are not local to me, so I'm sending you with money, and that she knows me well enough that she'll know what I'll like and what I don't like. She's smart. She wouldn't come home with brown fabric for me. So I gave her some things to think about and went, when you go, if you see something, here's money, just buy it for me. It'll all be fine. And if necessary, don't hesitate to text me and say, is there more in the budget for this? Because probably there would be. Anyway, so she went and looked at the options, And she did say like there wasn't anything that screamed Judy, which is totally fine. Like at the Stitching at the Library, she bought her fabric purchases, which were great. Like there were some good things. She had a really good navy Aida, but it was Aida. And it's not that I'm against Aida, it's just not my preferred fabric to stitch on, but it was lovely. Like, so if you go back to no, I think she did a special one. I think it's called Stitch and Stash Retreat. I think she did a special episode just for that one, and she showed what her purchases were. So the fabrics were lovely. They just weren't necessary. You know, she got Aida and linen, right? Which is not my preferred. And I do have a stash of fabrics, and so I did say to her, I'm specifically looking for even weaves, period. Nothing against the others. And as you saw last week, I did buy that Druid Blue linen. So it's not I'm against it, but I just went, at this point, I don't feel like I need to add to the stash, even if they're lovely. I've got a stash of fabric. I need to be working on that. But if she stumbled across a really fantastic even weave, then that could have come home. Anyway, so she didn't find anything that was stupendously, as she said, there was nothing that was like screaming, Judy, Judy, you must get this. But she did come back with a needle minder for me from Cute as a Button Needle Minders. I'll show the card. Yeah, she's got a Facebook group. So I will put a link to the Facebook group in the notes section down below. And so she got this one. It's sort of a clock face with a butterfly on it. Every time I look at this, I never know. I feel like it goes that way. It doesn't matter. It's a needle minder. So yeah, so this was lovely. So this was my my acquisition from the Stitch and Stash Retreat, which was acquired for me by my personal shopper, Cheryl of Happy Handcraft Studio. If you haven't watched her, go check her out. She's great. Anyway, so thank you, Cheryl, for that as well. So Stitchy Kindness from Cheryl, as well as personal shopper Cheryl. All right, that's all I have for the Stashquisitioning Stitchy Kindness section. Okay, let's get into announcements. So I have booked the next Stitching at the Library for August. It is going to be August the 19th from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at the Signal Hill Library. The address and those details are in the notes section down below. As always, happy to have anybody come join us. You don't have to let me know in advance. We've got lots of room at that library for more people. So if you are in the greater Calgary area and you have any time in that window, even if you just want to stop in and meet some stitchers, we'd love to have you just come in and meet us. That would be awesome too. So August the 19th, Signal Hill Library, 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. All right, let's talk a little bit about crocheting. So I did get some crocheting in, and this is where Deb had the brilliant idea. I don't know why I didn't think of this on my own, which is why I put questions out there. Remember how last week I said I was going to measure so I could tell you how much my progress is, and she wisely came back and said, why don't you just put a stitch marker in there? You can get them at Michael's. I actually have some stitch markers at home. I know, obvious new crocheter, couldn't figure it out by myself. So thank you, that was awesome. So I did some crocheting this week. Cheryl had this comment at the library where, like, her temperature blanket, she's like, this is not the weather to be crocheting a blanket, which I feel for her. I understand that. I have these moments where I come into the sunroom at night and go like, it's warm and toasty and glorious and lovely, and I look at that crocheting and went, ooh, that's going to make this uncomfortable. But I still got some done. I am now officially on ball number 7 of my white on this particular Afghan. It's gotten to the point where I'm now, instead of folding it in half, I'm folding it in 3. So it's even longer than it was before. I know last week I said I was at 40%, and I still think I am not at 50% yet. So somewhere between 40 and 50%, because the measurement is just coming. I sort of lay it on myself and go, where am I? How much more do I have left to go? And I've got a bit left to go. And I do need to, so I am not the tallest of people. So my official height is 5'4.5". So I have been measuring it against myself, which is not necessarily the right dimensions either, because the plan is for this to go into my guest bedroom. And there's no way that I can accurately say that anybody who's coming and staying with me is going to be my height or less. So I do think I need to do a measurement on someone who's taller than me and find out. So I might actually, my percentage might regress. Like I might come back next week and go, I'm at 1/3, because I've now measured it against someone who's taller than me to sort of go, how would this really work? Anyway, so there's a lot left to go on this. I do think working on an Afghan through the winter months is going to be lovely. And like I say, I'm nowhere close to being done this, so, but it is coming. So how much did I get done between last week and this week? And the funny thing is, as I'm working on it, I do a couple of rows and then I'm done. And I sort of go like, man, like this, I was looking at it and I was like going, this really isn't adding much. And then suddenly by the end of the week, I look at it and go, you did okay. You've made progress. So now that I've got a stitch marker, again, thank you for the suggestion. So there's my little stitch marker. So this is what I got accomplished this week. So more like a section and a half. So I feel like I did okay. So I'm now going to put another stitch marker here. See, I'm getting the hang of this. Put a stitch marker and then you'll be able to see, I'll be able to see when I have good weeks and bad weeks, just to keep track. I know somebody said count the rows, and the answer is I'm already doing enough counting, so I'm not planning on counting the rows, but yeah, so I feel like that's pretty good progress. And like I say, I'm on ball number 7. I did place an order for some yarn. Okay, from a shopping perspective, I have placed an order with 123 Stitch. I need to place another order so that I can kit up my next ABC. So I've got to do that. And I did place 2 yarn orders. Who am I? Cheryl. Anyway, Cheryl, who's going to be really lovely and gracious and help me finish some of my soft finishes once we get to that point where I'm prepared to do it. The lovely Cheryl from Happy Handcraft Studio. Anyway, so those will be showing up in haul at some point. But yeah, ball number 7, a lot left to go, making progress. Okay, and then plans. So my plans for this week are predominantly to finish off everything that I can on Frankincense. And depending on when that happens, I may actually be really bold and just start Myrrh and just start the next one while I'm there, because we're still going to be in July. Next Sunday, if I get my act together and I actually record on Sunday. Don't forget, my caveat is in the summer. I'm still going to try to do it once a week, but the day that it's going to come out could be a little bit variable as we go through the summer. Anyway, so my goal is certainly finish everything that I can on Frankincense. If I can't get that, if it's going to take longer to get that 002 cord, it may come out again later this year just to get that bit done. I think I would feel better ending this year having all of that, couching the cording down on all of those sections complete before I hit the end of the year, but it's going to depend on when I can get the Krynic Japan Gold in to do that. So hopefully that's going to happen this week. If not, I'll have to order it and we'll see how that plays into things. All right. Also, because the 25th is this week, I of course will be working on my little bits of Christmas. had a discuss. So I arrived at Stitching at the Library. I was fully intending on taking it so that we could have yet another discussion about what I was doing with the placement of my things. And Cheryl just looked at me and said, really? Like, overthinker? Just pick one and go. Anyway, but I forgot to take it. So now I'm going to have to make the decision all by my very self. Like, that's frightening. Anywho. So check back next week and see what I decide to do. But anyway, I'm going to have to make a decision. And it was funny, even as I was on Friday, as I was thinking I was coming up to this video, I'm like going, this is going to be a really sad video because I'm only going to have like my ABC project and I'm going to have Frankincense and nothing else. And then I went, all right, Stitching at the Library, 3 projects. So hopefully next week there will also be 3 projects, potentially 4, depending on how the week goes. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up. I hope everybody's having a wonderful summer. Thinking of the people of the Ukraine as always. We did have a death of a firefighter, not here in Alberta, but in BC, which was very, very tragic. He was 19. Very, very tragic. We've got flooding going on down in Nova Scotia. There are deaths related to that flood, which are not, there's some people missing. There have been some deaths from that flooding. So they had the fire, now they're having flooding. So thinking of those people as well as many other areas around the globe that are having their own issues. It's, as I said, it's turning into an interesting weather summer. Oh, and here, remember I said that we had that big hailstorm? I forgot to tell you when I said, and the big hailstorm. So on my patio furniture up on my balcony, which is very exposed, the hail shredded 2 of my patio covers. So I've got to order, I've ordered those. Those should be coming this week. So I had one, I was like, could we finish off the rest of the summer with none of it? And I went, I don't like that. I like having my patio. I am one of those people where after every use, the patio furniture covers go on. As far as I'm concerned, again, part of it has to do with the fact that my balcony is super exposed and a southern exposure. So it always gets covered. I take the cushions off every single time. There are people who just go like, why would you do that to yourself? It's because I take the cushions off and they go in, I've got a storage cabinet up there. And again, like if I had left those cushions out on my furniture during that hailstorm, given that the covers got shredded, I can only imagine the damage that would have happened to the cushions. And because they were purchased as a set, like you can't get extra cushions and all that kind of stuff, and they're unusual sizes, and like you just can't run out, you know, like if you've got a table and chairs, you can usually just sort of run out and you can find another cushion that will fit your chair. For my patio furniture, you can't just run out and get replacement cushions. So very, very grateful that I choose the path that I do, even though it takes more time. And sometimes I get annoyed where you're like, oh, now I have to take all the cushions off the sectional. But I take all the cushions off the sectional because when we have unexpected hailstorms, it means that the cushions are safe for another day and my patio furniture looks great. So right now, the 2 of the 4 covers are shredded and they're not looking good, but I will have replacement covers for them by the end of the week, and then we'll put them back on and go, okay, we're back to being okay. Anyway, with that, that's the end of this week. So I hope everybody is staying safe. Again, with all of the weather that's going on, whether it's heat or hail or rain and lightning, and let's be safe out there, people. Safety first, safety first, safety first. So I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're staying healthy. I hope you're finding some time to do some stitching, or honestly, just having fun this summer. If you get the stitching done, that's great, but winter's a-coming. So yeah, I hope you're finding some time to do some stitching, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.